Right, welcome along to this, which is ShrimpNet 33, the 33rd ShrimpNet of this season, Joel. As we fast approach the closing overs of this campaign, myself and Joel found ourselves, for the first time in our history, completely alone and guestless. This is through no fault of anybody else. The players and staff are all tucked up with their families, eating, well, according to the adverts, roast lamb and eating trifle and things like that. Which is good for them. Our tame board members are all busy, and the trusted lieutenants who help us out with opinions are all currently engaged in situations elsewhere. However, we will endeavour in this truncated episode to entertain and inform. So 6 games to go, Joel. What can possibly go wrong?
I mean,
well, let's talk about Barnsley.
Yes. I mean, yeah, Barnsley. I mean, I said this on Twitter. It looked very much like a team who were banging form, despite the defeat against Exeter, who were ultimately banging form. They've really got a good thing going. They're flowing, they're moving, and coming up against a team who are devoid of confidence, staring down the barrel of a possible relegation, and have been messed around with their pay over the past week. And I know we kind of spoke about
preparation.
I know exactly a great preparation. I know we kind of spoke about this kind of maybe we'll get this weird siege mentality, and you do see it happen occasionally, but
yeah,
probability, it was always going to be a tough one. I think just
not according to me.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. Yeah,
according to me, I was 2 weeks ago. I was telling everybody that's the game we're going to win.
I know. I had a strange, but I think we was just chatting before the podcast, and that defeat against Exeter that they had on Tuesday before, kind of, I think threw my kind of confidence in that scenario happening, because then they have the wounded animal, and ultimately they're on the up, and they've had a bit of a blip against Exeter, and you know what, the way I noticed that they changed a little bit about their lineup against us. Adam Phillips obviously wasn't starting.
No, he didn't.
Norwood wasn't starting. I don't know if he might have been injured, but there was a few little changes here and there, and it just reminded me.
Bloody well worked.
I know it worked a treat, and I tell you what, it reminded me of. Obviously, those who watched our promotion season, it will remember we had a very, very disappointing. Actually, no, the may well have forgotten because it was incredibly forgettable. A really boring, drab 1-0 defeat against Mansfield when we were just really flat. It was just what actually it was what it came. It was after what was it? It was after the Salford game. It was the game after the Salford game, and then it looked like we were just a bit burnt out from all that. We were very flat. I remember, but they had a good game plan. In fairness, Mansfield. I remember thinking they counter pressed really well, and they kind of ground the 1-0 win out of us.
I think it was Harry Charlesley scored, was it, or somebody like that?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I think they nicked the goal from.
And it was like you said, it was instantly forgettable.
It was incredibly the game. Yeah. And then the next game we played Crawley on the following Tuesday, and we changed around a good 4 or 5. I remember Brad Lyons came in, Slew started. We changed quite a few things around.
Lyons had his best half, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he came off injured, unfortunately. I think we changed goalkeeper. Halstead came in. I think we changed both fullbacks. Harry Davis came in, I think, at centre back, and there was a real load of change that night, and
that's exactly what bloody Barnsley
did. And it worked.
Rotten cheating Yorkshire.
I know, yeah, they did something. Michael Duff did something clever, and it really. I remember it got a reaction against Crawley, and we won quite comfortably and played really well and created a lot of chances, and they've done similar. Some of the moves that Barnsley put together were delightful. At the same time, we've got to look at our own performance, and some of the defending and not tracking the runners, the way we just didn't really tackle people properly sometimes. It was very limp.
Do you know something? That's exactly the word.
Yeah,
that's exactly the word. That's you've hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what I agree with you completely. Limp, and it wasn't through lack of effort. It was almost like we were 80% concentrated.
Yeah,
that's what it came across. It came across like we weren't completely focused, and they were, and they were just better than us.
Yeah, and I think I remember Stephen Robinson actually really he quite nicely touched in an interview at one point last season when we were having quite a particularly, I think, the worst point in our run under him. He said, I think there were a lot of things being said about the players not putting the effort in, etc., etc., and he made the point that players very rare. It's very very rare that a player genuinely isn't trying.
No.
A lot of it is fear and lack of confidence, and yeah, you see, players aren't willing to do certain things, and they're
risk averse.
They're the risk averse to the point of being just deconstructive, and they can't, and they don't want to go
Play
into
safe.
hard and things. Yeah, and then even then, like, it comes to, like, I remember there was a few ones that we had. I think he got the ball a few times in the final third, and just I think there was a couple of 3 balls he just completely shanked, and I was like, that's not the player he is. He's a really good player, but then when your confidence goes, you do things like that. And there was one where he got into the area. It was brilliant. I think was it the one where he dribbled around? I can't remember. But he got the ball in the area, and it was set up really quite nicely to just rocket it across to the far corner. And he tried to pass it across the 6-yard box. And I think a player, a team in confidence, any player in confidence in that position, belts it at the goal. He was at a good angle. Yeah. But when you're lacking that confidence, you just you don't back yourself to beat the keeper. You just want to put it on the plate for somebody to tap in, and then again we have Cole. When Crowley hits the post from range, Cole comes in. It's bouncing pretty nastily, in fairness. But I just remember thinking, like,
that's still in orbit, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember he came up to, and I just thought, this isn't gonna. He's not got any confidence at the minute, and that's what you do. You kind of, you're afraid to just really hit the ball with the conviction. I don't know what it is, but like, everybody just looks short of confidence, and that's why I think it's important to touch on the reaction of the crowd, because some of the shouting and the booing and the jeers, what good's it gonna do, really? Like, I know we're paying our money, but
that's the point, isn't it? In the fact that I understand people's frustrations, particularly people that have paid good money week in, week out to go away from home. And it is incredibly frustrating. And when you see, I think the one thing that was in my mind that was, I said 2 weeks ago, was that we beat them at home when they didn't play particularly well that day. We didn't play particularly well. We just defended quite well and managed to snatch a goal. And I thought, if that can happen again, we can do something. But fair play to them, they were absolutely streets ahead of us, and we played poorly. And I think on the day, I think you're quite right. We were risk averse. I don't particularly like people booing, but they're entitled to. I would never do it myself, but I see why people do it, because it's a bit like it's a catching the mood, isn't it? And it only takes 2 or 3 people to start it, and all of a sudden you've got large sections of the crowd doing it. And we've touched on this with the Donald Love situation, where he's been castigated for some home performances, and while he's not been as bad as people think. Yes, you could blame at him for 1 or 2 goals here and there, etc. But like, I've never moaned, and I never will, at a Morecambe player in a Morecambe shirt, because if you're trying, you've got to support them.
I mean, to broaden it to a wider point about football, I mean, it's kind of, to it, sometimes I get a bit of booing, and I kind of understand it. And I remember there's been a couple of performances I kind of got it at halftime against Charlton. I kind of got it at, I think when we lost against Crewe last season, I kind of got it.
Yeah.
But the way it's kind of become so targeted, and when the players are quite clearly said, I think people forget that football's not. And this kind of goes out to a wider point about football. Football's not a theatre show, or like a musical or a music performance, where you turn up and you expect everything to be perfect, because the point of it is when you put
together, you do the same thing every night.
You do the same thing every night. There's nothing unpredictable. Well, obviously problems come up sometimes, but there's nothing truly unpredictable happening. Doing the same thing every night, and also, most importantly, there aren't 11 other musicians trying to stop you doing your job.
No, exactly.
And that's the thing. And look, football, it's a brutal game. At the end of the day, X amount of teams are going to get relegated. One team's going to lose. One team's going to miss out on points. And there are other people trying to make you be bound at your job. And we know the risk that when we go to watch football matches and spend money on football matches, surely we all know the risk that it could be crap. Like, we travelled down to Plymouth or Exeter or wherever. And we fully know the fact that, like, surely everybody knows that, yeah, we want to do well, but it could be rubbish. And like
and the point being is, and it's I think it's I think if you're a football fan, you're part sort of like you're seeking heavenly retribution for your masochism. Because it is, that's what it is. You can't appreciate the highs without actually suffering the lows.
yeah.
And this is a particular low point, but then, and I know James, when he comes on, James from the board always says we're still paying for that penalty at Wembley, and maybe this is it.
Yeah, we're still paying.
Yeah, we're still paying for it.
And well, that's the thing, like, ask a Rotherham fan, because they get it in the most exaggerated way possible.
Oh no, honestly, I literally up and down like a bride's nightie, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah. So, like, it's the highs come with the lows, and you go through sustained period of lows, and that's just kind of the reality of things. not to get too like macro or like too like philosophical about it. But,
no. But and ultimately, I mean, we'll talk now about, obviously, you can listen to this before the Plymouth game, and then probably before
turn off halfway through.
yeah, and before the Portsmouth game on Easter Monday. But I mean, ultimately, we've got sort of six games left, and we are staring down the barrel. And I'm always positive, and until it's mathematically impossible to stay up, I think we can stay up. It's looking increasingly improbable and increasingly unlikely, but you just never know with football. That's what it truly would be the great escape if we stayed up, and you just never know. And we'll talk about Plymouth now. My thoughts on it before we came on air. We could have really done with them beating Bolton in the Papa John's and going out and getting absolutely wazzicked on the way home from Wembley, and being unfit for training Monday and Tuesday, throwing up and eating kebabs, and then we play them on Good Friday and give them a right good railing. But as it happens, they probably were slunk back on the team bus, sulked all the way back to Plymouth, and were in training on Monday, getting a tongue lashing off the manager, saying, right, we've got to put this right, and we've got to beat Morecambe on Friday and get our promotion back on track. But you have a slightly more positive vibe on that one.
Yeah, I remember comparing it to the Barnsley game last week. I know I joked about it a lot on social media and on here, but Barnsley were truly wounded animal last week, and I remember Barnsley being on the rise. They've just ended Plymouth. Sorry, not Plymouth. Sheffield Wednesday's half season unbeaten run. That's half a bloody season. Exactly. That's mental. And also South Yorkshire derby. That what a high. So at the end of the day, they were kind of on one, and that extra defeat is more of a blip. And in many ways, Barnsley haven't really got anything to lose, if that makes sense. Well, they do obviously, but they're all but in the playoffs. They're pushing to break into the automatics. That would be great if they could for them, obviously. But ultimately, the pressure's on Sheffield Wednesday and who's the other one? Plymouth. Sorry, obviously. Sheffield Wednesday and Plymouth. It's the pressure's on them to keep their spot, and it's all kind of, if Barnsley do manage it, it'd be a bit mental if they did manage it. Whereas Plymouth, it is on them to, the pressure is on them to keep that spot, and they've done so well, and they've overcome a couple of adversities to this point already. They lost one of their best players in January, Whitaker, being recalled by Swansea. Michael Cooper, their fantastic keeper, he's out for the season. I think he's got like an ACL injury, so that's the next season as well. In fact, I think if that's the case, but they've overcome some difficult things already, and they've done well. So maybe there is an argument to say that they are able to bounce back. At the same time, Sunday was a humiliation. They
were crap.
4-0, and anybody who watched the game will have seen it was some victories are won through like a bit of a tactical thing. Some victories are won through a bit of individual magic or whatever. But this was just Bolton turned up and looked up for it, and
Plymouth didn't. No,
they were just not at the races at all. First couple of minutes, they let a man just go from a corner.
Yeah, I watched first quarter of an hour. If I was a Plymouth fan, I'd have been looking at everybody going, Do they know each other?
Yeah, no, exactly. It just looked like nobody knew each other. Like the Bolton was completely in their faces, and yeah, it's a funny one. They are prone to the odd wobble. They've managed to recover from pretty much everyone, but they are prone to the odd wobble. Plymouth recovering from it is why they're in the position they are. But ultimately, uh they've got a lot to lose. You know, they've got a
So,
lot to lose at this point.
so what you're saying is a scabby early goal from us, and all of a sudden the pressure's on them.
Yeah, they probably melt down. Obviously, that's a bit of it's a big ask us getting a scabby early goal. That's not a given. But
I'm sat here grinning, going, "Yeah, but you never know."
you never know. But yeah, it'd be a hell of a an achievement to beat them. Obviously, the home form has kind of tailed off a little bit in recent weeks, but we are still stronger there than we are away.
Yeah,
We know we can make it difficult for teams who like to try and play a bit of an expansive game, which Plymouth do. We know we can make it difficult for teams who like to do that when we're at home. We did it against Bolton the other week really, really well. I'd like to think that we can do a similar kind of job against Plymouth, but who knows what Plymouth are going to turn up, you know?
it is strange, isn't it? Because you judge by what you see, and the Barnsley game at home, I wasn't impressed with them, and I thought, oh, we could probably do a job on them, and we get slammed 5-0.
I mean, the Barnsley we played on Saturday are a completely different animal to
Oh
the
yeah,
Barnsley
complete.
we
Oh
played
yeah,
on October,
but
aren't
that's
they?
you only go on what you see, don't you?
Mm.
So, but judging by that, Plymouth are probably the best side I've seen this season, because if it wasn't for Connor Ripley, it would have been 10-1. And
Yeah,
that was a fantastic away goal by Anthony O'Connor, and his
that's action for the
his
club.
reward for doing that was getting sold off to Harrogate, which
Yeah,
is
I
quite
mean,
funny, isn't it?
it
Really,
was
but
interesting that performance. Actually, I remember I was chatting to somebody, a neutral at the game, and he was slating Anthony O'Connor for his overall performance. And I think he did mess up in the lead to, I think,
he
their
did.
second goal,
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it was their second goal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but ultimately, I like Anthony O'Connor, but you know,
He scored a decent goal, but I mean,
yeah.
let's be fair, and I'm being honest here. 2-1 flattered us. Dear
Oh
Lord.
yeah, 2-1 flat was massively. I
Connor
mean,
Ripley was man of the match after 25 minutes. Forget
yeah,
everybody.
and the penalty save he made was the best one by far.
I
Well, not
agree.
by far, they're all really good, but it
Oh
was the
yeah, of
best
course.
one, that one, Plymouth one. But yeah, I mean they were wonderful at their place, but they have been all season. They're known for being pretty spectacular at home, not always being quite on it away. You know,
Which is why
they
we
lost
need
3-0 to Barnsley the other week away, which I
yeah.
guess is, kind of not fair enough, but if you're going to lose away at a team, it's probably going to be Barnsley. They lost, in fact, actually, the last 3 away games, actually the last 4 away games, pardon me, they beat Accrington most recently, but Accrington aren't great at home, and obviously because they're Accrington, they got a red card.
Yeah, they always go down to 10 men at
Yeah,
some point.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just their thing at the moment. But and then Barnsley defeat 3-0, 5-2 away, lost 5-2 away at Peterborough, drew 0-0. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so yeah, they're not been in great shakes on the road this past month, but
So
you
what
never
you're
know.
saying is what you're so I'll praise it and put you on the spot here. What you're saying is you're hopeful against Plymouth, whereas I think we're going to get absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to put anywhere near the level of performance they put up in December. At the same time, they're a really good quality side. There's still a strong possibility that they could beat us without hitting the performance levels they hit
Well,
in
yeah,
December.
I sincerely hope I am 100% horrifically wrong, but I cannot see us getting anything. But I would love it and absolutely celebrate it up to the rafters. And it would just be typical of our bleeding season, wouldn't it?
It
We'll go on.
would, and well, to be honest, I've to give us a little bit of a segue, I have far more faith in us pulling something off against Plymouth on today, which is when you'll be listening to it, than I do against Portsmouth away.
Well, yeah, that's Easter Monday away at Fratton Park. I was very fortunate to be there when we drew. Was it 3-3? It was 3-3 when we were 3-0 up.
Yeah, that doesn't
And
sound fortunate. That sounds devastating.
Well, no, it was quite funny. It was because I was doing the commentary that day, and it was like one of them where it was like, well, hang on, we've just scored. Oh, that's good. And then Barkhausen scored. And I was like, oh, we scored again. That's good, isn't it? And then Alan Goodall scored, and I was like, oh, blimey, we're 3-0 up. And then I think Gary Roberts pulled one back just before half time, and I was like, oh, that's not so good.
Yeah,
and then literally it was like the siege of Stalingrad second half. And, Jaden Stockley equalised in about the 93rd minute.
Yeah, but they had 10 men, I remember.
And a bloke in front of me, it's a great story. A bloke in front of me, and he was just a fan. And obviously, he'd been listening to my commentary, and I was commentary. I think it might have been Downs who was with me doing it like that. And he'd been listening to it, and he kept looking at me every time I said something like, blah, blah. And he kept looking at me. And when Jaden Stockley equalised, he turned round and just stood there celebrating like this. Well, I was live on the radio.
But for the listeners, for anybody listening, by the way, that was Freeze flicking the V's at the camera screen.
He went for about a minute going like that with a look of glee on his face. And all I was doing well on the live commentary was, well, I'd probably say on the balance of play, they probably deserve that. But the bloke in front of me celebrating like they've just won the World Cup and they've got a point at home against Morecambe. So I made my point. But yeah,
Derek Adams got a revenge for us later that season by beating them in the playoff semi-final. So
yeah, that's right. So
cheers, Derek, in advance.
yeah, well done. So yeah, it's a tricky place to go. We haven't got a particular. I think that's probably our best result there, to be honest.
I'd actually say it was the one where Lee Molyneux scored the last minute equaliser.
Oh yeah, I remember that as well.
That's us scoring the last minute equaliser when
we there that day as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've been at basically all of them, to be fair.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I should be in a situation where I could go and we might bloody get something, but no. But they've definitely lost their way a bit before they appointed Massinho, and he's done really well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done fantastically well. I mean, the Cowleys, I mean, they've done really well before, but yeah, it just didn't work out for them particularly well this season with Portsmouth. I remember when we played them back in when was it? It was in November. That was, actually, that was the most devastated I've been after a game all season because we battered them. We absolutely battered them. And like the chances,
5 really decent chances, didn't we?
Yeah, the chances we missed. And I remember that one that Cole had when he tried to square it but massively overhit it. And it was like, oh God, it was agonizing. I remember sitting on the train back sulking all the way. But yeah, it was very frustrating, and they were rubbish against us, I thought. And we thoroughly deserved 3 points that day. We didn't get them, which is annoying. But yeah, like you say, since Massinho's come in, they do seem to have really, really turned it around. I mean, I'm looking at their form recently, and
it's rather worrying.
It's good. Yeah, their last 3 defeats in the past 12 games, I think it is, have come against Sheffield Wednesday, fair enough, Barnsley, fair enough, and Plymouth, fair enough. So they've been doing pretty well. And just looking at some of the
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, looking at
Plymouth at home, looking the better bet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so looking at some of the silly numbers that I like to look at, that you can see that Massinho has already made quite an impact on their playing style. Obviously, we know what the Cowleys are like; they're kind of a bit more quick and direct, but they've kind of shifted towards the kind of more build up from the back, slow,
measured approach.
Yeah, more slow and intricate kind of way of playing. At the same time, I look at the kind of underlying expected goals for and against numbers. They're not blowing. They're kind of mid-table, but obviously part of that is recovering from not being very good earlier this season. So
that playing us could help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who knows? It might give them a bit of a boost, but obviously at the end of the day, I back our home form over our away form. Portsmouth, they're a good side. We might be able, they've still got a bit of a shout at the playoffs now. Bolton and Derby have messed up the last few league games. It's given Portsmouth a bit of hope. So there is still something they might be able to have a little bit of a go for. It's an outside chance, but it's still a chance.
Yeah, I agree. It is an outside chance, I must admit. But if they keep winning and Bolton and Derby keep cocking up, you just never know, do you?
Exactly. It could entirely. It's like, while it's an outside chance, it's not a ludicrous chance that they can make the playoffs. No. And there's other teams competing like Peterborough but we'll and Wickham actually as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I think I hold more hope of getting something from Plymouth at home, to be honest, than Portsmouth away, just purely because of our home record as well. I know we haven't quite managed it as well in the past few weeks, but we just look better at home than we do away, and we have all season. And our back us even against a side like Plymouth to maybe be able to turn out a bit of a performance, but away it's just been very, very tough. That said, who knows? Like you said, football's weird, and we've got the ability to do something good. Just hopefully we were able to kind of get past that bit of a psychological barrier we seem to have away from home.
So, okay, let's play the we beat Plymouth but we lose at Portsmouth game. That leaves us with 4 games. Obviously, Charlton away, Lincoln at home, Wickham at home, Exeter away. There's only really Wickham who are involved in what you would class as a playoff battle there. The other 3, Charlton impressed me immensely when they came the other week. Exeter impressed me when they came in December. And Lincoln, I actually thought we should have got something there, but I thought we were a slightly better side. But as usual, gave a daft goal away. Kieran Phillips hit the post, etc., etc. So we are where we are. That would give us 4 games left. Say we've got 36 points. What do we need out of them last 4, do you think?
I think we need 4 wins out of our last 6 games. So if we beat Plymouth and then we don't beat, and then we failed, and then we lose against Portsmouth, then we need, I think, 3 wins out of those last 4 games. Obviously, Wickham, I think you take them losing both their Easter weekend games and Bolton and Derby winning both their Easter weekend games to put them out of the fight.
Extinguish the season,
yeah, to extinguish the season. But if they get a result or 2 over Easter weekend, then they're still going to be fancying themselves to maybe make a little bit of a go of it. So I won't really discount them as being out of the race. At the oh my god, sorry, Derby out of the playoffs. I've been wrong this whole time. Derby out of the playoffs and Peterborough snuck in ahead of them. Didn't realise that. Not that it matters to us. We're not playing either of them, but there we go.
No.
But yeah, Wickham, it's again, it's at home. I back us to do something at home. I know that they're transitioning playing style a bit under Matt Bloomfield. I'm just looking at the form recently. A quick look. It's not been amazing. It's not been amazing their form at all.
No.
So, I think there's a chance for a result there. And then it's just when we have these the on the beach sides in Charlton and Exeter on the last day away, it's just whether we're able to somehow win these past final 2 games of the season.
Get over the mental block of being away from home.
Yeah. Exactly.
Going to the Valley, we didn't expect to get anything last season, and we played really well and blah blah blah, and then we beat Oxford at home, and all of a sudden, blooming heck, we've survived.
Yeah, that was it. Was it? It was Oxford before Charlton, wasn't it? Because Charlton was the one where I was like, yes, this is it, we're staying up.
Yeah.
Was it the other way around? I can't remember.
No, I think it was the other way. It doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, we stayed up.
They were both unexpected because it was like we didn't expect to get anything Charlton. We didn't expect Oxford chasing promotion, and at the time we played them, they were the top. They were actually the top side, and they got to the point where they were just 1 point behind automatic promotion. So for us to beat Oxford, it cocked their season up.
Yeah, no, it did. Yeah, they were nearly there.
They were, and they were on the up. They had a sequence of really, really decent results, and then we derailed it. And obviously now Carl Robinson's out of a job. So, these things happen. But I agree with you. I think we need 4. I think we need 4 wins out of these 6 games, and I'd like a draw in there as well. But that isn't going to happen. And I'm not saying we're not going to win 4 of them. I take what you're saying with the home form, and I think yes, we possibly could beat Lincoln, and we could get something against Wickham, and we could beat Plymouth tomorrow. But away, I just do not see us. I think we look devoid of ideas. We look terrified. We've conceded far too early in every single game. The games are even for. And I've said this before. We went in the pub at Sheffield Wednesday. Went in the Crown just outside the home end at Hillsborough, and got talking to some Wednesday fans, and they were like, "Oh, what's going to happen tonight then?" And I should have taken all of their numbers because I said to them, well, if we can not concede in the first minute, we might get something. And 45 seconds later, I said to Glenn, I should have taken that bloke's number and texted him. We're like, oh, here we go. Because that's what we shot ourselves in the foot at so many away games by not being at it and giving away a daft goal. And they've been very, very preventable. So that's what worries me in the fact that, yeah, we do need 4 wins. And I think we could possibly, going against the grain, it only takes 1 win to suddenly turn your season round, doesn't it? That's the positive.
Yeah, and I think people might listen to this thinking we're living on cloud 9, and because we're not angry and shouting and down in the dumps. And at the end of the day, if I made myself really angry and worked up over every football match that we lose, then I think I'd probably have an aneurysm. But the point is,
we don't want that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, some people might, but I don't. But but the point is, like, we come in here and talk it, and we've got to pick it apart. We can't just kind of be spitting with anger every week, and we have to look for something. And it's not mathematically over there. And just because we are putting a bit of a positive spin in it and having a bit of hope doesn't mean that we don't understand the severity of the situation. I think that this is tougher than last season, because last season there were Wimbledon, who haven't won since December or something ridiculous. Crewe and Doncaster were complete basket cases gone. Gilliam I know that they put together a decent run, but there's so much damage had been done earlier in the season. Fleetwood were pretty bloody awful. They just couldn't. They were kind of decent, but just couldn't really, couldn't really string things together at all, and just kept on conceding steeper goals and losing the bottle at random times. I think they had a bit of a problem with daft red cards as well. And this season, really, I think Oxford are the ones to catch, and they have good quality, and it's going to be really difficult to catch them. We can do it. It's going to be really hard. We're going to need a bit of luck, but while it's not mathematically done, there's hope. So,
and it's the hope that kills you.
Yeah, sadly it is, and that's probably and we'll probably win on Plymouth just to give us hope, just so it hurts at the end of the season.
Yeah, you're right.
When we blow it in the last minute and the final day against Exeter or something mad like that.
I mean, it's one of those situations, isn't it, where it's laissez-faire. Yes, it'd be lovely because everybody knows, Morecambe, the only league team we've never been relegated. If we get relegated, it's not the end of the world.
We were the last league team to ever get relegated.
Yeah, exactly. The point being is, we go back to League Two. We're not dropping into the conference or Northwest Counties or something, They don't relegate you 5 divisions. We just go back to League Two. And we were an established League Two side, and I've been since 2007. Yeah. So it's like, we go back there. Yes, we don't get the glamour ties with Sheffield Wednesday and Derby County and Ipswich Town. But, what's not to like about Crawley? All right, that's a bad comparison. But, there are still plenty of big teams in that division. You cannot tell me Bradford City are a small team, can you? So
yeah, we'll get a few out of Bradford, Stockport, Salford, Carlisle, Barrow, Wrexham would be really fun if it does go that way. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it was probably time for another little segue now, I guess. That kind of leads on to the fact that in many ways, it's kind of all a bit of a moot point unless the ownership gets sorted. I think
because as we were discussing this week on Shrimp's Voices message board, how do you plan for next season when, first of all, at this juncture, you don't know who's in charge. Secondly, you don't know how much money you've got. Thirdly, you don't know which division you're going to be in. And fourthly, you don't know how all that's going to affect. If we stay up, I think we get something. Somebody know better than me, but I know that it was worth nearly an extra 250,000 in Football League money.
Yeah, it's worth quite a bit in Football League.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's an awful lot of money, and to a club like us, that's meat and drink.
Yeah.
And so the point being is, we're almost in an impossible situation, and I do feel for Derek, because it'd be lovely to sit down with Derek now and say, right, okay, him and Greg, how do they plan for next season? They don't know where they're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you know what they're like. They'll work things out accordingly. They'll probably have a couple of different plans and players who to go for, and they'll be on their phone and they'll be putting things together. But like you say, it's the ownership situation that needs resolving, and regardless of what division we're in, at the end of the day, I think you look at the structure around the club, you look at the board that we have, you look at the manager, the fact that we've got a manager in place with a recruitment director that he wanted and who's there to work with him. We've got a better setup behind the scenes off the pitch with people like Ben Sadler now as CEO, and we're seeing a few different appointments in here. We're moving towards being a more, as a whole, a better put together club and a better run club. It's just that, and I think that if the ownership situation was sorted going into next season, regardless of what division that we're in, I think we'd have a good platform to kick off from. I think we'd have some solid foundations. But it's the big if the ownership situation is sorted, and it is so frustrating how long it's taken, because I think it was inevitable that it hampered summer a little bit, because there just wasn't enough time to get it completed before summer. But it could and should probably have been maybe completed before January.
I mean, he's been knocking about since his first game was in September.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you can't get
that's almost a full season.
Exactly, and if you can't, the fact that the documents haven't been put together in a way that will satisfy the EFL test by this point is concerning, and it does make you think, why our bond group so devoutedly pursuing this path? Obviously, we know what the rumours are, that apparently Sardrot is offering more money. This is reported in the Athletic as well, for anybody who hasn't got the subscription. But at the end of the day, what good is more money if you're never going to get it? If that makes sense,
Well, yeah.
I can rack up and say I'm offering 20 million, but the point is, if I can't prove it to the EFL, then it's kind of immaterial. And
exactly.
Sorry,
we know we obviously have a long time contributors. We usually have somebody on from the board, and tonight we've got nobody on from the board, and the main reason of that is because there's nothing new to say, and what's being painted here is obviously not simple, because the EFL are not getting the answers they want.
Yeah,
yes.
At the end of the day, we need, it needs to get sorted soon, and yeah, it's illogical, really. At the end, if we end up in League Two, because partly in large part because of this protracted nonsense, the club's going to be going for a lesser value, and Bond Group miss out on money because people don't pay as much for it.
Yeah, again, and again, the truth is always simplest, and that is the truth, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not worth as much in a lower division, because your turnover, your crowds, and your EFL income is all dropping.
No, exactly. Yeah, so very frustrating. But
anyway, on that positive note, if you listen to this on the Friday before the Plymouth game, I hope you've opened your Easter eggs. I hope you've had cross buns for breakfast, and there's a big race night ahead, isn't there?
Yes, there will be. Well, yeah, it's finally come around, the Easter Friday race night. All put together by Paul Carter, was kind of the main person organising that. So big thanks to him for putting that all together. I think there's 8 races, I believe. They're all being kind of paid for. There's some silly names that you'll be able to read in some of the horses, which are be fun. It'll be in the Right and Lord Suite. It should be a really good night.
So if you shot something to do and you want to laugh, get yourself down there. And obviously, the best thing that could possibly happen is for us to absolutely smash Plymouth, and then people stand around drinking and think, "Oh, I'll go upstairs and I'll put some money on horses." That's the best scenario, isn't it? Really?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So hopefully we smash Plymouth, and they're still reeling from getting beaten by another Northwestern team in the Papa Johns, and they've got a phobia of the Northwest, and we do them, and it's all fun and games, and you can all come up and have a great time at the race night and recount Dan Crowley's magical display.
Yes, yeah, I like that. That was very biblical recounting. I like that. That's very good. You thought that one through, didn't you? Right. Well, I think we've rattled on for long enough here. Thank you for listening. And obviously, it's myself and Joel. We've had no guests at all, but I think I said I'll leave you this one in the fact that opinions are like assholes, and we do have both of those. Those are our opinions. You may well be in the camp that thinks we've been sniffing glue to think we can survive. It's quite you might be right. Yep. Yep. Mine was only pricked, so and it doesn't stick particularly well. But join us next week when hopefully we'll have somebody on to talk about these absolutely fantastic 6 points that have given us all hope. Joel?
Thanks very much, Freeze. Cheers.
See you later. Thanks for listening.